Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Das. I'm going to be continuing the explanation of the 12 disciplines. This time I will be discussing the disciplines known as James and John. If you've seen any of my other videos, then you know I don't espouse to any particular religion. I've looked at different religions, studied them, mainly interested in the collective message or the collective teaching of the many different religions that I've studied. I haven't studied all religions, but the most popular ones. Hopefully that won't be offensive to people. But I've looked at religions trying to find a common thread amongst them because as a child, I never wanted to feel as though the religion that I have was the right one and everybody else was practicing the wrong one, or we had the wrong one and everybody was practicing the right one. But as a child, I was never given enough information for me to make that decision for myself. And which is the reason why I couldn't settle on one, is because when I would ask, why are we Christian? Because that's what I was told I was growing up. And how come everybody else, if we're right, how come everybody else is doing the wrong thing? Meaning people who weren't practicing Christianity were wrong because, that's what you're taught. You're taught what you're doing is right and what everybody else is doing is wrong. And I couldn't help but wonder, what if their parents are telling them the same thing, people who weren't Christians? And what makes us right? So since maybe 6, 7 years old, I've been on this quest to discover the origins of spirituality, religion, law, natural law, and trying to make sense of it all. And this is where I find myself today. With James and John, if you've studied the Bible, you know that James and John are brothers, and that as brothers, they are related. They are related in the sense that while John represents love, James, his brother, represents righteous judgment. So what's the relationship? When I first was introduced to the 12 disciplines of mind, the general teaching is that in order to practice righteous judgment of things and of people and of anything else that you can be critical or anything that you can analyze, that you should feel love in that process of judging. That any time that you didn't feel love and then you didn't approach it from a loving aspect, that it wasn't righteous judgment. That love has to be included in any judgment that you make. And I can remember feeling that the reason to master the disciplines of mind, one of the reasons to master the 12 disciplines of mind, is to be able to manifest what you desire. And I couldn't help but wonder, how is it that evil people still manifest? And some of them are quite wealthy, seem happy. And I meditated on that for a few years, literally. And I came to the conclusion, we came to the conclusion, my lower self and higher self, we came to the conclusion that everyone's manifesting. It's impossible to be a human being and not manifest, because your thoughts and what is expressed in the physical world are connected. You cannot separate that connection. Nothing can tear us apart, as Sade would say. It is a bond that comes with being human. Thoughts manifest into action, whether it's desired action or not. The thinking is the determining factor. The discipline of Philip highlights this process, or this occurrence. Philip says you can only be what you hold in your thoughts, what you hold in your heart. You can only be that. and James, being right judgment, can be used to analyze disease, depression, fear, jealousy, grudges, because at the source of these negative emotions and feelings, but these are all incorrect, non-righteous judgment. A disease such as diabetes comes about as a result of exposing ourselves to foods that are devoid of love. Now, how can a food be devoid of love? Everything that has been provided to us is given to us with love, given to us by the universal living mind. Trees, airs, the earth, the sun, the stars, everything that provides us with this life has been given to us, and you cannot call it anything but love. The essence of what holds the universe together, that we are granted this life, is based on love. The more you move away from that naturalness, the more you move away from the pure love. And the more you move away from pure love, be it in thought, be it in physical choices, which are based on thought, the more you move away from that, the more you move into a diseased state. The more you move towards it, the more you move towards an ease state, a state of ease, peace, tranquility, happiness. What we call depression is often called a mental disease. I prefer lack of control of the mental discipline. It is for this reason that I study mind law, laws of the universe, mental disciplines, is to master my mind, master thoughts. And each one of these 12 disciplines are powerful in their own right, and they can be mastered. And it's a chore to try to master all 12 at the same time. And I don't have a plan. What I do is depending on what's happening in my life, I'll focus on a different discipline at a particular time and then bounce back and forth between them. Now, when you see evil people, or you hear about evil people doing all kinds of evil things on a local level and global level, how is it possible that they're manifesting these things if love is the essence of the universe? That's a question I used to ask myself. And as I mentioned earlier, you cannot not manifest. It is the passion or love that you have for that thing that allows you to manifest that thing. The greater and higher your love for that thing, be it good or bad, the more likely you are to manifest that thing, good or bad. When we make choices that are not righteous choices, we move away from love, we move away from happiness, we move away from peace. Doesn't mean that we do not manifest. Doesn't mean that evil people cannot manifest because their hearts are not filled with love. It means that you move away from love. And to move away from love is a punishment in its own right. No one can punish anyone else. No one can criticize or judge anyone else and not suffer the consequences in universal law. This is where the consequences and the judgments are handled out. The judgment is your thinking. You will be judged on your thinking, day to day, minute by minute. Thoughts that are filled with love come with a benefit. And if being happy can be the difference between depression and enjoying life, a simple emotion such as depression and happiness, and these are not simple. I say simple only to say that you have a choice, a simple choice in making and choosing one or the other. To be happy is a very important thing, considering that there are people who take their lives because they don't feel happy. And all we can say is that These are expressions of the power to control thought. Controlling thought is controlling emotion. Controlling emotion is the difference between you feeling happy and you feeling sad. Controlling the emotion is the difference between depression and depressing actions or depressive habits, which would include activities that are devoid of love. It makes it all worthwhile to study the 12 disciplines of mind and universal law and other ancient philosophical doctrines and practices and philosophies. So, what's the point? The point is to begin to teach ourselves to make judgments that are based in love. And it's not something that I've always done in my life. I think part of my culture was to judge and to criticize it. We're taught to judge people and taught to judge others, and not with love in our heart. And these things lead to us not having an enjoyable life. We have periods of time where we're happy and periods of time that we're not so happy, law of rhythm. We have periods of time where we're expressing lots of love and times when we're expressing less love. And the law of correspondence says that the extremes are one and the same, and that as the extremes move away from each other, they begin to meet. Love and hate are different degrees of the same thing. And the ancients who mastered the art of transmutation of feeling and emotion and of things, physical things, mastered the law of correspondence. Law of correspondence is necessary to transmute one emotion or feeling into another one with ease. Now, we want to master righteous judgment for our own happiness and as well as to manifest without punishment. What I mean by that is to manifest what does no harm to no one else and also gives us peace. During my period of research of different religions, I looked at Buddhism. And Buddhism is a little bit more obvious to me that it's a practice of mental discipline, mind controlling thought, mind development than some of the other religions, but it's there. I see it in all the religions. And in Christianity, the 12 disciplines, and particularly what we talked about today, right judgment, relates to the Eightfold Path in Buddhism. The Eightfold Path is one of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, and I won't go into that in this video, but I just want to relate the Eightfold Path to James' righteous judgment and also John love. In the Eightfold Path, we have the right view, and I should start by saying right means wise, means skillful or with wisdom. Right can also mean based on law, universal law, following universal law. So in the Eightfold Path, we have right view or right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. While the Eightfold Path goes deeper into righteous judgment, they are one and the same. To judge wisely, to judge based on law, is a righteous judgment. It's judging based on law. And as I mentioned, to move away from righteous judgment is to move towards negative emotion, negative feeling, disease, depression, fear, criticizing others, holding grudges, jealousy, all the negative emotions that you can imagine. Now, all these things are based on not judging correctly. It's not a right understanding. There's no right intention in judging someone else negatively, not based on love. I personally choose, and we all have the choice to live the way we want to live. and think the way we want to think. I personally prefer going beyond the name, going beyond descriptions, and going towards the source, digging towards the source to find the unifying thread, not just for religion, but for everything that we call life. What is it that binds us all together? Even the word bind is a form of love. To bind is to attract, is to love, is to bring together. Judging correctly is to be thinking of another, to be thinking about choices, thinking about speaking efforts that fills our hearts with love. This is the essence of James and John. Now, I hope this video was enlightening to you. If you need me to elaborate and go deeper into it, just leave a message in the comments. And I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching. Enjoy your day.